Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is well. When I say I just stepped out of the shower, it is the truth. I'm so happy to be here, but I'm running a little bit late. But I have prepared for this. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video, and I must have mentioned that I was a vegan. And so I got several questions about, well, tell us more, tell us the recipes and what you do. So that's what this topic of today's video is about, my vegan life. And so I really want to start back with when I really started observing what I'm eating. And way back nearly 40 years ago, while I was living in Britain, I heard on the radio that Northern Europeans tend to get multiple sclerosis more than Southern Europeans. And the reason why was because Northern Europeans and those living in that environment actually eat more meat. Well, that dis-ease runs in my family. So I thought, well, there's a reason to stop it. And I just went and did it. And I didn't plan it. It was just one night, one day to the next. And at the time, as I understood being a vegan, because I've researched this and that term and what it is has changed over the years slightly. But at the time when I decided I was become a vegan, I was not going to eat any red meat. And I really didn't eat any white meat, pork, or anything like that. But I wasn't going to eat any meat. And part of my diet would include fish and chicken. So I lived that way as a vegetarian, what I termed as a vegetarian, for nearly 40 years. And then what happened was, as you know, I was a caregiver. That's Henrietta making noise in her condo, my turtle. But I mean, as you know, I was a caretaker. And when the diagnosis came through as to what was wrong with this person, I was really shocked because we lived together and I was the chef du jour. So I thought to myself, well, what have I been doing to help this? Not to help this, to encourage this disease. And what we did initially was we went to a Chinese holistic doctor because my frame of mind then, and still now, was to calm the body and calm the mind. So we went to a holistic doctor, a Chinese doctor, who actually studied in China, who was Chinese, studied in China, studied in the US, and decided that she was going to go in the direction of her Chinese medicine education. And this doctor in Fort Lauderdale actually had a library of books. And so when the treatment was being performed, there was acupuncture mainly and some herbs, medicines afterwards. But when the treatment was taking place, I went to the library and I started to read. And ultimately, I came across a book that really changed my thinking. Sadly, I don't have the book any longer because I gave it away. But the book is called The China Study. And I won't go into it, but when I'm finished with this video, I'm going to put a link to it on Amazon. But it really changed my thoughts about food. I remember consuming that book. For the first 6 months of the treatment and the diagnosis, I spent a lot of time in a hospital sleeping on a chair. And I remember reading this book into the wee hours of the night. And the book I bought one of these lamps so that I could read it all different times. And it really fascinated me. I also went on to study other books about the American diet. And I thought, well, this thing, I've decided, at the time I decided, well, I'm going to take control of this. And so that is when I became a vegan. And I like to say I deem a vegan to for me is to eat nothing that had or has an eyelash. So if it, in a previous life, it had an eyelash, I don't eat it. And so I eat everything else. And I eat a lot. Initially, what happened was I lost 16, 17 pounds. And I'm quite tall. So you could really, I could carry the weight, but I lost a lot of weight, and I have maintained that weight for all the time since I am a vegan. And I eat all the time. I eat every couple of hours if I'm hungry. If I head to bed and I'm hungry, and I know it's not healthy, but forgive me, if I'm heading to bed and I'm hungry, I will get out of bed and eat. Sometimes I bring the food back into bed, but I will eat when I'm hungry. But remember, I'm eating a different type of food. I'm not eating potato chips or popcorn or donuts. That's not what is part of my diet. That's not to say that I don't get those cravings, but normally I wouldn't eat that food. So I eat all the time, and that's how I came to be a vegan. I started, when I decided that I wanted to become a vegan, it wasn't so different from what I was used to, except I did love shrimp and I did love mussels, nothing nicer than mussels. But how I started was I thought, well, I need to really understand this. So I started with cookbooks, and I got a couple of cookbooks, and this is the first one that I got. And then I have a whole slew of them. They're packed away. But this book here by Jamie Oliver is another book that I use. It actually sits on the side of my bed for inspiration. And I just love the way the meals are presented. And I do my best to copy them, to make them visually appealing. One thing I realized that when I started with reading these books, these cookbooks, there was a lot of different ingredients. And so I thought, okay, do I want to cook something with 17 or 18 ingredients? And I thought, well, why are you doing this? So I just did. And over the years, I've learned how to modify everything. But I started with reading. And then today also, I watch TV shows, all on PBS. I don't watch, well, basically because I don't have cable, but I watch PBS, and there's several television programs that I watch on a Sunday, actually, and they have just given me ideas and inspiration. I will put those below, and also several videos on YouTube that also inspired me and helped me. I also will say, as I went down this journey, you get to know the tricks of the trade, so to speak, and you know what to cut out and what to add, because you can read a regular cookbook or see another recipe, and you can amend it to eating as a vegan. So that's how I started, and it has been a very interesting journey. It has, I can feel it in my body. I'm not tired very often, and I have a lot of energy. I exercise quite a lot, and I think you can see it in my being. I think that, I know it has helped me in so many different ways. As you can see, I'm reading notes because I can't remember everything. So that's how I started on this journey. And I want to show you a couple of ingredients, like they're substitutes, but they're healthy substitutes for what a non-vegan would eat. You know, it's the same thing, actually, the way I eat. If you eat meat, you know how to make substitutions. If you don't have something, or if you particularly don't like something. Well, I am the same way, and I would suspect that most vegans are. But let me show you, I've got 3 ingredients here, which are substitutes for, which are ingredients that are used in a vegan lifestyle or in vegan cookery. Yeast. And this is a form of yeast, and it actually gives the taste of cheese. Yeah, and it smells like cheese. And you can use it in ingredients, or you could sprinkle it on foods and pasta and all. But the difference with just eating this and regular cheese is that this provides nutrition, and it's very, very important for a vegan because in this day and age, vitamin B12 is not produced. It used to be found in the soil, but it's very limited. You can't find it in the soil. So vitamin B12 can be found in this nutritional yeast. And at one time, I had to scour the universe for this stuff, but you can actually find it in your local supermarket. So that's one substitute that I would use for cheese. Another one is miso. Miso, and you can see I get this at Whole Foods. And miso is, again, it's a paste. It's Japanese. And I did Google it so I could tell you something sensible. Miso is a traditional Japanese seasoning. It's a thick paste. It's produced by fermenting soybeans with salt and koji, and sometimes rice, barley, seaweed, and other ingredients. Please don't let that put you off. It's very, very nice. If you've ever had miso soup, that was it. The trick with miso is never to boil it because you kill the positive nutrients in it. So you just stir it in at the last moment. The last thing is, well, what do you do for substituting eggs? And you can buy commercially produced alternatives to eggs, but I choose not to do that. There's something called a flaxseed egg that you can create. And what I do is I purchase flax seeds, and there's if you need to grind them up, because apparently if you don't, they will pass right through your system. So I use my coffee grinder and I just grind them up, and you mix that with a little bit of water, and it makes it looks like glutinous material, and you can mix it to bind things. So that's the substitute that I use for eggs. And there's so many different other things. I don't want to bore you, but if you do some research, you'll see that, and as time is progressing, pardon me, many are becoming more aware of being a vegan. The one question I get is, well, there's two. The one question I get is, well, how is your health? What are your vitamins like, and your minerals in your body? And I can tell you that I go for a checkup every year. And initially, the reason why I went for a checkup every year is because I have high cholesterol, and I try everything. But it turns out that it's hereditary, so I can't change that. But having said that, the balance of my chemicals and minerals and the vitamins in the nutrition in my body is very good. It's just normal. And I don't eat meat, and I don't eat I don't eat dairy products or anything, as I said, with an eyelash. The one thing that I supplement, I do take multivitamins, but for what good they do. I am short on vitamin D, which is really, really unusual because I live in Florida. But I think many, many people have a shortage, is that the right word, Carolyn, of this ingredient or this vitamin in their diet. So I just take a vitamin D, it just tops it up. I was supplementing with vitamin B12 because, as I said, it doesn't come naturally. And I put too much in my diet. I took too many tablets, and the doctor said, no more vitamin D or vitamin B12. So I no longer even take vitamin B12 because I'm getting it in here and the combination of other foods that I eat. The other question that I get is, well, how do you get your protein? And okay, I get it. I think we all were pitched something that is not necessarily true about how much protein we actually need. And if you look back to the beginning of the 20th century, you will see that at one point, and I was doing research, didn't really finish it to the point that I wanted to, but I do know that in the beginning of the 20th century, eating meat was seen to be that of the upper class. And so the marketing was directed at eat meat because it'll increase your class in society. And at one point, I'm not sure now, but the meat industry was the largest and the strongest in the United States. So they pushed it even more. And also today, the meat industry is a great political backer for whatever side they promote. But there's a lot of influence in the meat industry. So I just think it could be reason why you see promoting, eat meat. Just saying. But the question, always arises, well, how do you get your protein? And I get my protein from seeds. I eat sunflower seeds. And you'll see that. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. I eat a lot of nuts, a lot of walnuts and peanuts, but everyday walnuts. I eat peanut butter, but I make my own peanut butter just because I like cooking, and you'll see that. A lot of grains, and I've recently discovered millet, M-I-L-L-E-T, and I use that. Actually, I'm cooking with it now. I'm making a pasta sauce, and it gives it some lovely texture. I also eat a lot of lentils, red lentils or orange lentils, and just regular lentils, and French lentils are really, really nice. I eat quinoa. I'm not too fond of quinoa. I sort of have to force myself, but I do eat quinoa. And I eat tofu, which is soy. I don't eat a lot of it, but I do eat soy, and I do eat tofu. So I eat all different varieties of vegetables and fruits, and in addition to what I just mentioned here. And what I did was I took pictures over the last couple of weeks of the food that I ate, and I have put that on my Facebook and my Instagram feed. And I'll put the links to that below. Typical day is I start my day off with porridge or oatmeal, and either I heat it or I use yogurt and mix that up, and with other ingredients just to boost up the protein and the calcium. And I always have fresh vegetables or fresh fruit in the mornings. And then during lunch, I'll have a sandwich or I'll have soup. I love making soup, mainly with lentils. And then the evening, Bob's your uncle. I'll eat anything, I'll eat pasta, I'll eat rice, some quinoa. I'll also eat farro, which is a grain. I can make a vegetarian or vegan stew, black beans and rice, which is very popular down here. So there's so much to eat. And one of the important things is to make everything look presentable, to sit down at a table and make the meal look presentable. And I've enjoyed it, and I hope you understand a little bit more about my vegan lifestyle. Are there any questions? I'm happy to answer them now or in the comment box below. I would encourage you, if you're a meat eater, I would encourage you at least just to read about it and then just go slowly. It's not a matter of doing without. It's actually a matter of, and it's not even a matter of prevention. Yes, certainly vegan food tends to be more expensive because there's so many ingredients and they're not readily available, but it's getting better. But my choice is to pay for food rather than pay for pills and medical treatments. That is my thoughts. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment box below. And I need to get ready now to head down to the airport. It's holiday season. I've got guests. And with that in mind, I wish everyone a good day, a good week. I always love hearing from you. I look forward to it. I answer every question. And I will see you next week. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, let me know. Toodles.